Good morning. In this demo, what I would like to cover today is about Adobe XD and putting together your app or website. There's a few things that are available to you online that you should take advantage of. There's plugins for the program that will ease and make it much faster for you to put things together. And there's a lot of free apps, templates that have already been made, and you could probably reuse or repurpose one of these, or if not, learn from them as to how they have linked things and designed pages and screens and all that good stuff. So what I want to do is start with that and some ideas also as far as what you should and should not do with this particular project. Remember that you're showing me a demo of an app. You're not showing me the complete app. So it does not have to have every single screen, and it cannot possibly function as an app because it's a prototype. But it's enough that you could talk me through, meaning me, the client, talk me through how this would work and why I should, hire your company to make it. So let's begin with some ideas there. You're basically starting with a blank screen unless you use one of the templates. What you should have done before you actually get to Adobe XD is you should have figured out a flow for the app. In other words, what's the first screen they come to? What's the next, and you simply write that as a flow chart, understanding the flow, the how the person uses the app, making sure you don't have any dead ends, making sure that each screen is necessary. But in order to get sort of set up with this program, I would encourage you to do this. In Adobe XD, I would go up here to File, and I would drop down to Get UI Kits, and I'd go to More UI Kits. It will simply open this window in your browser. Now you can set it up for a Google platform, a Microsoft, Apple, IBM. There's all kinds of ways that you can do that. They have kits for each one of those, and it has all the buttons and the typefaces and everything that is found generally on that platform. I would encourage you to design for the platform you're most comfortable with. If you have an iPhone and that's what you work with, I would encourage you to use that platform to design for. But looking farther down this page, you have tons and tons of things that have already been made, and many of these are very, very complete. So we have one for fantasy sports, if you wanted to, another one for a nonprofit, another one for something that shows videos and things like that. So you can download these things, and here's how they are complete. So it's easy simply to download it. It will give you a UX or an XD file to work with. Now, this is what it gives you. It gives you something as complete as this. They have actually worked out all the screens and the flow and everything, and you could come in here and you could learn from this by seeing how they have connected things, understanding if you run the prototype, what you're going to get, and you can see it's already made so it can scroll. It allows me to set up, who I am and all that good stuff. And the whole thing has been put together. So it has a flow to it already, and you can find out what that is by simply going into the prototype mode, not the design mode, but the prototype mode, which allows me, if I select any one of these things, you can see how they are connected. And at first it's like, oh my gosh, this is the most complex thing in the world. Yours does not have to be this complex. I am mostly interested in your design. What does it look like? Okay. And is it consistent? So those are two things that are very important. And you can see that this one's very consistent with the color use all the way through. And this one is very, very complete. I mean, this is almost one where you could plug in your information and begin to use this thing. So look for some of these. They might help you get started. Here's another one. This is about food. This one has two designs to it. One where it's against white background, one that it's against dark background. What you want to look for is basically the home page or the starting point so that you can actually run this thing and then find out, how it works, because it allows me to sign in, it allows me to scroll through, choose fruit, I can look at some menus. You know, that's what this one is all about. Now, would that help you? If it does, you can simply use any one of these things, and you could grab a whole bunch of these things, and you could copy this and paste this directly into your layout, okay? And then you have all those pages, and then you could just simply put in your content. Now, you don't have to do it that way, okay? Because you can start with a blank document, basically. Oh, this one's got everything in there. I think I'll leave it there for the moment just to show you another thing that you need to do. With Adobe XD, it's easy to add another page, and then when you choose the screen or page icon, it allows you to create one. I wouldn't just start drawing them randomly. You're going to have to use one that is for that platform, for that device, and be consistent with it. And that's one of the most important things, is that you're consistent with that. The other one is that you name every single one of your screens or artboards, because when you start putting together your navigation flow, it's very, very important that you've done that. And you can see in the example that I copied and pasted, they have named every one of them. And the name should then just simply represent what the function of that page is about. So if we scroll or we zoom in on here, we can see that every single one of these things has a specific name, and it directly relates to the function of that page. Okay, so you could pick up and reuse one of these pre-existing templates, and that's great. I would encourage you to look at these closely to see if you can find something that's similar to what you're thinking about. The other thing that you can do is you can simply download one of the UI kits, which contains lots and lots of things, where it has some templates built into it. So here's a screen. So if I wanted to use this home screen to show that, okay, here's how you begin using our app. Click on the icon, we go to this, and this. You got to log in, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I could simply copy this and then paste this over to my document and put it in here. And put it right there, okay? That would allow me to begin putting this thing together. Then I simply would add a link to this thing right here. When I go into the prototype mode, I can add a link. You click on that, it opens this, and we begin the process. I encourage you to start looking at one of your more complex pages first, and making sure that you understand exactly how your navigation system works, where that's going to be found. Because that needs to be very, very consistent throughout the entire app. The UI kit that I'm looking at, is basically parts and pieces. I will use this simply to grab the things I need. I need a keyboard, there it is. Boom, put it in. If I need some buttons, put it in. If I need to demonstrate what a message would look like, use that, and it will put it in. So you have all these different types of parts and pieces within the UI kit. If we go back to one of these others, here's where you actually see then their menu system, and you can see that at the bottom of every one of these pages is here where they have the icons that allow me to navigate through this app. And if I click on any one of these, if I double click, sometimes what I can do is I can punch way down into this thing and find out exactly where that is linked to. Okay, that allows me to see exactly how this thing has been linked. Now, to create these icons, I can create these icons in Illustrator. I could draw them. I have some basic drawing tools in Adobe XD, but I can also use something that allows me to use plugins. And plugins are really great. And here's the few plugins that I have at the moment. Whoops, that did not enlarge what I'd hoped. But here's my plugins. Now, where do I get them? If I go up to File and I go down to UI Kits, that's where all that stuff is, and that's not where I get it. I basically get it right here with this little plus sign next to the word plugins. I click on that, and here's where I can download and install tons and tons of plugins. And these things allow you to work very quickly, and here's the ones I use. I will select a page here and say that, okay, what I need is a calendar. And so I can create a calendar. And immediately it puts it on my page. Okay, and I have a calendar. There it is. I need some icons. So let's go back here. I need some icons. I need an icon of a horse. Put that in, and bingo, here's a horse. And there's my horse. It's this little PNG file or SVG file or whatever it is, and I can use that. That's an icon already made. I don't have to go draw that in Illustrator. And so icons for design, they have tons of them. There's hundreds of icons in there, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can simply reuse those. If you need filler text, the lorem ipsum is really great because it will allow you to simply fill that text box right there with some placeholder text. I didn't have the text box selected, sorry, and it disappeared on me. Let's do that again. I do have it selected. No, it just does not want to stay selected, so I'll put some text in there. Text, select that, fill it with placeholder text. Oh, whatever. I don't know why it's giving me grief here this morning, but it allows me to fill placeholder text. I can also create a whole bunch of users, and this is really kind of fun because it allows me to create a page where I show a whole bunch of people, and I can put in UI faces and things like that. So there's all kinds of plugins. I would encourage you to choose those, figure out if they're going to do anything for you, and see what will work for you. Okay? The other thing is you need to make sure that as you're building this thing, these are named. Like I said, you need to name each one of these things, and you need to make sure that in your figuring out the navigation system, you don't have any dead ends. So everywhere that you take me, I need to have a way out of that. So at this moment, if I were to run this app, and I can do that by simply clicking on this button, it allows me to navigate to here, but once I get here, I'm at a dead end. At a complete dead end, I can't go anywhere. So I don't want any of those. I need to make sure I have a navigation system that takes me back to a logical place, whether that's my home page or takes me to the next screen that I need to use in order for the app to work. So be thinking about your structure and make sure that you have worked that out on paper before you actually begin with Adobe XD. I will do a couple more demos to show you some other things. I do have a short one that I made, and that's on Canvas. You can download that and look at it. But I would strongly encourage you to download one of these more sophisticated and a little bit more complete pieces so that you can really see exactly what another design team created. And you look at that and it's like, oh my heavens, it's a crazy mess. But really, there's a logic to it. There's a flow to it. It's actually very simple. Yours does not need to be that complete or that complex. But it does need to show me exactly why you made the app, who the user is, and why this solves a problem for them. That's key to the whole thing.